Should we switch on the AC or is it okay? Sufficient? In case in between we feel humid, we will switch it on. Hope you guys are doing well and of course studying well as well, that is more important. So welcome to ZETA IAS. So today we will be discussing some of the new aspects of public administration. So we'll be discussing new aspects of public administration. But before we start, why we are discussing this? This is not mentioned in our syllabus. You must have gone through. Is Karl Marx mentioned in your syllabus? Is Waldo mentioned? Is postmodernism mentioned? No, right? But UPSC is asking, you can see these papers, you must have got the handout, and most importantly they asked in 2025. Two questions were there from these aspects, Karl Marx and did you go through? Postmodernism, CPA, and he talks about that Riggs and postmodernism. So we can say the new trend has come in public administration. So these aspects will continue most likely for it continues for 2-3 years, that is the trend. But we cannot say with certainty or with accurate probability that this will continue. But there is a strong probability, we can say if you know maths, more than half, that these aspects will come in the near future. And these aspects have already come in the past, you can see 2014, 2015, 2018, many years it has come, 2020 also it has come. So it's our duty to be prepared so that we are not surprised by the UPSC in the paper and we execute well and write the answers accordingly. So that is the endeavor of these sessions. These sessions will stretch out for a week approximate. We'll try to finish off in a week, but if it goes a day or two, can also it be extended. Hope it is clear why we are discussing this, because the trend is started now. Because of this we are discussing. Today we will take Waldo. See, two questions have already come. So, but before we dwell into all these aspects, let's discuss about something basics about public administration. We all know there are two papers, paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1 talks about, the heading is giving as administrative theories, and paper 2 Indian administration. So yes, we can say to score well in public administration, base is foundation, then comes answer writing, and then enrichment. So if you complete this triangle, most likely you will clear the CSE examination, or most likely you will score well in public administration. See, foundation, you must be knowing what is foundation of public administration. All the chapters you read, you write, you remember what are the things, what are the concepts, understand them, that is the foundation. After that comes answer writing. You should write, preferably it is highly recommended you practice answers, because questions are not direct, neither in public administration or any optional for that matter. There are many concepts which are interlinked. See, a 2025 paper, they asked postmodernism from Riggs' perspective, and Riggs was not a postmodern thinker. They ask you to analyze what are the implicit postmodern features in the Riggs agraria industria model. So without answer writing it may be difficult. I am not saying that you have to do, it is indispensable to do answer writing, but it's recommended. Some people are, yes, some people are very gifted with good writing skills, etc. They can manage, but it's recommended for most of the aspirants to do answer writing. So then you complete answer writing, and enrichment part is incorporating the feedback in your preparation, incorporating current affairs. That will be the enrichment. So you can get, you can feel pretty much confident for the public administration optional. And yes, we all know optional plays the most crucial role in determining whether you will be clearing the CSE examination or no. This also recently there was an interview by the chairman of UPSC. He also implicitly says optional plays a very vital role to clear this examination. They have lot of data, they must be analyzing lot of data. From that data, they must have inferred lot of things. We don't have that data, UPSC keeps it for itself. So optional, the most crucial role it plays, and don't be in that misunderstanding that public administration is not scoring, it is a bad optional, is nothing as such. The chairman too had said all the options are at equal level. It depends how well you prep, how well you understand the questions, and how well you write. So don't be in a that many people have things in their mind that public administration is not good. There is nothing as such. Every option is good or bad depending on your prep, how well you have been guided, how much hard work you have done. That what matters in any optional, and public administration is no exception. So if we further break down the foundation, we can say paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1 is what? Administrative theories. Paper 2 is Indian administration. Basically, paper 2 is an application of Indian paper 1 in Indian administrative context. And for paper 1, the most important chapters are the most and most questions come from these chapters only. First 4 chapters, that is introduction, administrative thinkers, organization and behavior. This forms the core of your public administration. If you prepare well these 4 chapters, you have very much good hold over public administration. Rest of the chapters of paper 1 are nothing but application of the first 4 chapters, and paper 2 is nothing but application of the first paper 1. So if you get these 4 chapters, your work will be done. If you are not scoring well in public administration, do visit these 4 chapters. Problem must be here, and of course the other aspects are there. For example, paper 1, you shouldn't be end up writing only theoretical aspects. Practical aspects are also there. Public administration is theory plus practice, and practice means Indian administration. You have to link with paper 2. That is the task in paper 1 to score well. And paper 2, if you write only paper 2, then you are writing general studies. Public administration is not general studies. Public administration, you must have studied in the evolution how it has to fight for a separate discipline. It was branded as an unnatural child of political science, as management. So if you certainly it's not political science, neither is management, and certainly it's not general studies. If you're writing general studies specific answer, trust me, you won't get marks in paper 2. See, if you have gone through this year's 2025 paper, see this question. There are many questions like appear to be from general studies. The GEM portal, CP Grams, Aadhaar. Then again, Niti Aayog, trace the reasons for the limited effectiveness of Niti Aayog. So if you're writing only general studies or Niti Aayog without connecting with the thinkers, the concepts of paper 1, marks won't come. How will you going to differentiate that you're writing in public administration? Niti Aayog answers can be written by a person who doesn't have even an optional of public administration. She can write. So that's the thing in public administration. You should link. If you can check our discussion of this year's paper. We have linked all this. It's available on social media, YouTube. And of course, paper 2 means you have to link with paper 1 plus any current affairs of that aspects which are in news. Governor always busy news on our Indian polity. Similarly, Niti Aayog, lot of things were there. Many CM boycotted that. This recent Niti Aayog meeting, even the former CM of Telangana called it as a useless organization where people come to talk. What happens after that? There is a regional council, there is a governing council, they have a meeting. These are our grievances. Does anything happen after that? So that's why it's more of a Elton Mayo. You must be knowing. It's kind of mass interview. You come, you talk. There is a ventilation of grievances, and you feel that something has gone better, that at least our grievances have been heard, but have they been corrected about it? So it's more of a mass interview, Elton Mayo, so that way you can connect. So this way, it's all about how public administration should be handled. See, I'm repeating again, it's not that it's a bad optional or everything is bad. If you're not scoring well, problem must be in your preparation. Fix that, you'll score well, trust me. public administration had seen very good days some time back. Sorry, fell down. It's okay, you take pen from here if you want.
No, it's in my.
So yes, that way public administration is all about. Yes, public administration, if you go back to, I can say, some 10-15 years back, it was a very good optional, very high scoring optional. In the mid 2016-2017 era also, it had seen very good marks, but then things changed, not from the UPSC side, from the aspirant side. They were not able to click all these check boxes, making paper 1 with paper 2, that all aspects we talked about, and they don't do this and ultimately score bad in public administration, and then blame game happens that this is this, that. You think UPSC is a constitutional body, will we have any bias towards any person? It's a constitutional mandate is there, will have it any bias? No, of course not. So fix your prep, then you will score well. Okay, so these are all the aspects. Hope keep these things in mind while studying public administration. If I will say these things will happen only if your foundation is good, and specifically the first 4 chapters of public administration paper 1. Yes, any questions?
Sir, if public administration subject is good, then why students say that it is less scorer subject?
That's wrong perception. People don't fix all this, don't tick all this check box, then they have wrong guidance and they keep on blaming the optional. You change optional, then if you change optional, then again different things, different challenges will come. It's up to you, but there also every option, I will say, is at the equal footing. If you don't do things which are needed, see, if paper 2 you are writing general studies, how you get score marks, given how the history of public administration is, how it has to fight for the disciplinary status, how it was rejected, it was called an unnatural child of political science, and there in the paper you are writing general studies, you won't get marks for sure. And trend changes in every optional, trend also changes. So trend, we can say, has changed in 2025. It may continue or may not continue. We cannot say with certainty that it will continue, but with some strong probability we can say. Okay.
I have a question. It's cynical. Actually, it's not about the exam. It's generally about public administration. I think public administration is very dependent on the public willing to be administered. That involves the public actually being educated and maybe reading the newspaper daily and implementing public administration policies. If we merely read about public administration and the public is unwilling to be administered, won't we be talking to a wall? Or, I mean, what is the use then? It's a very, I know it's like a cynical question. However, I need it answered because as a healthcare professional, I experience public administration flaws, mostly pertaining to a health record. That health record created by healthcare professionals across all institutions throughout India are not kept properly, not digitized in DigiLocker, and not given the respect they deserve. We keep creating more and more doctors and administrators. We keep investing in administering India better. However, at the grassroots level where public administration is actually implemented by the people, it's not implemented. The simplest thing, last thing is the no smoking law. That smoking is illegal, it's a criminal offense because it violates right to life, Article 21 of the Constitution. So is alcoholism. Yet we see public smoking, yet we see shops in Delhi, alcohol shops, publicly drinking alcohol and lying drunk on the road, ending up in the newspaper as a dead body found.
Have you read about rigs?
Rigs?
Compared to public administration, there is a component of the syllabus called FW rigs. He talks about prismatic society. That is, we have laws of developed countries, but we have prismatic feature. There is heterogeneity, overlapping, and formalism. That is, in theory we have democracy, we have public administration, we have good governance, but in practice we have what we have, malgovernance, which World Bank identified in Africa, which became the basis of formulating its report on good governance. So we are a society with prismatic features, Administration is modern, constitution is modern, but people are prismatic, kind of imprints of the colonial administration. One time we see we have BNS, Bharat Nyaya Sanhita, Amit Shah ji talks about. Now people will get justice when they go to police station. Their FIR will be registered. After few days, then what happens? Custodial death in Thoothukudi in Tamil Nadu. The poor watchman was beaten so badly, he died in custody. He had chili powder in his genitals on the accusation of stealing jewelry, on the mere accusation. So, on one hand, Amit Shah talks about BNS.
Because at the grassroots level, they are not implementing CCTVs every station. I read in the paper sometime back that it has not been implemented anywhere. CCTVs in every interrogation room and every custody.
Yes, that is a judgment given by the Supreme Court that mandated CCTVs in every police station, but only CCTVs will ensure colonial nature of the administration is over. E-governance ensured corruption decline in our country. There are many things to talk. I think we should not digress. Let's keep in the other sessions we might take about, otherwise this will become very long. Okay, we talk about e-governance. There was a case studies in ethics, MG Narega. If you take a look at the mains paper of this year, that was a real incident, which was first in June. Parliament Standing Committee report had come, how the Aadhaar authentication is been faked. That is, you take photographs from the passport photos first, then upload. So that way it was, a case study was framed in your ethics paper. Those 7-8 problems they had identified in that case study. The same Parliamentary Standing Committee in June had identified those problems. So they recommended a solution that you do verification, some percent of it at district level, some percent of it at state secretariat, and the ministry will do some percent verification. That was the solution provided. It's important to read newspapers. Case studies are framed from there. Solution was also given there. Also, one statement in the GS2 paper of IR was directly plucked from the Hindu editorial. It was about that mutual respect India-Africa question was there. And the solution was also in that editorial only. Yes, newspaper plays a very vital role in this examination. Many things are there. Let's focus. We will be discussing today Dwight Waldo. You can clearly see some questions have come. 2 questions have come directly on Dwight Waldo. The handout. UPSC doesn't mention this syllabus directly, but he is a very important thinker in public administration. You must be studied only about that. He was a chairman of what? Yes, Minobrook Conference 1, New Public Administration, but his contribution is more than that. So we will structure discussion in such a way. First, we will discussion about his some works, what books etc. he has published. Then he tells that administration. Administration is ahistorical, is not ahistorical. Yes, some technical words. I'll explain it. Then he criticizes the classical theory, critique. Then he talks about he criticizes the behavioral theory. Then he also criticizes the modern organization theory. Then his views on administration and democracy. Then he talks about future organizations. and some criticism of his we will talk about. So basically Waldo's Dwight Waldo discussion will first revolve around his works, important publication, what books he has published and why we are studying him. Okay, and then his views that he says that administration is not ahistorical, administration is historical. Take it for the face value. When we come bit by bit, I will explain each of these. Critique of classical theory, criticizes, rejects the classical theories. Then critique of behavioral theories, and there also he keeps on rejecting behavioral theories. And he even criticizes the modern organization theories. Then he gives something relation between administration and democracy, and then he talks about what kind of organization will be there in the future and some criticism of it. And of course I will give one question also. You can go home, write and consider this, whatever questions you have, consider it as an assignment. We will discuss at the end of the sessions, end of this series of sessions. It's preferable you write, it will be helpful for you in framing the answers, and naturally history is the mirror of the future. This can be the reference for UPSC to frame new questions on these aspects. Okay. So just a caveat, these all topics are a bit advanced topics. I will try to simplify them as much as possible by giving the past references, but even if you don't understand, take it at a face value, and when you build your foundation very well, this can be easily graspable. Reverse engineering also works in UPSC. People have cleared examination by adopting reverse engineering from top to bottom rather than bottom to top. Different strategy works in UPSC. There is not one strategy that will ensure clear examination. As we all know, aspirants come from a wide age band, 21 to 32, 11 years of range is there. And what is the qualification in UPSC required? Just graduation. Graduate can be from any stream. So different candidate will have different strengths and weaknesses. So work upon your weaknesses. There can't be one strategy in UPSC to clear this examination. Okay. So enough of philosophical aspects. So Waldo. So Delhi is air pollution. So see, Waldo is a very important thinker in public administration. His impact Waldo is a very important thinker in public administration. His impact on the theory and practice of public administration is very phenomenal. His important works include Administrative State, Bureaucracy, Democracy and Hypocrisy, the study of public administration, Bureaucracy, Democracy, a strained relationship, but this will be fine. His important works, that is works on research on public administration which he has published, includes Administrative State. UPSC once framed a question referring to Administrative State only. Then Bureaucracy, Democracy and Hypocrisy, the study of public administration. If this is study of public administration, what is the study of administration then? Something should be click to you. Study of administration. And essay was written. Study of administration. Yes, Woodrow Wilson, the father of public administration, he wrote study of administration. This is study of public administration. So these are the important works of Dwight Waldo. See, if you have studied new public administration, what was the motivation, what was the of the issue that led to the new public administration NPA. There was a honey report published which led to the Minobrook Conference 1. One of the issue was identified as, what was the issues identified there? Why a new public administration came into being in the 60s, in the 1968? There must be some problem with administration, traditional public administration. Then something happened. Then because of that, NPA came to being. Yes, practice, there were some issues. American Civil War, Vietnam War was there, and the murder of JFK. But some theoretical aspect also, some problems was there in public administration. Yes, status quo etc. was there. But importantly, there was a separation. There was no intermix of academics and practice. Academics were saying different thing, practitioners were saying about different thing. So there was no coherence about academics and practice of public administration. Academics, hope you understand, academics means the theory is the research that goes on, and practice means what? IAS officers, that is the practice of public administration. Practice they do, they say theory, you implement Weberian model, and then there will be rational bureaucracy, and there will be highest form of service delivery. But in practice there is corruption. What to do then? They are saying something, they are saying something. So there was a separation of theory and practice. So how Dwight Waldo tried to bridge it? He himself was a academic. We know that all this publication, and he also worked as an assistant professor in the University of California. He also worked as a professor at Syracuse University. What is, hope you know Syracuse University?
New York.
Huh?
New York.
Yes, it's New York, but importantly in the field of public administration. Minobrook Conference 1 happened at Syracuse University. Even 2 happened at Syracuse University. So there he was a professor. Naturally he was a professor. So Minobrook Conference was headed by Dwight Waldo. So he was a professor, and also he was a he was also associated with ASPA, NASPA. What is ASPA? American Society of Public Administration. And what is NASPA? National Association School for Public Affairs and Administration. And how NASPA is significant for public administration?
NASPA and NPA led to public fifth.
Yes, of course, NASPA declared the epistemological independence of public administration. If you read the evolution of public administration was associated with what? With political science, its management. Then NASPA published a paper. There it declared that public administration is an independent discipline. Public administration is public administration, not management, not science. So NASPA, very important role, and also framed 260 courses, around 200 plus courses in public administration in various universities. So Dwight Waldo was associated with all this. That's why Dwight Waldo is a very important, significant contributor to the field of public administration. So okay, this is all what? We talk about the separation of academics and practitioner. So here he seems to be an academic, all academics things he is doing, but no, he was also a practitioner also. He was a practitioner also. He worked with the Bureau of Budget as an analyst in the US administration, as an analyst in the Bureau of Budget. So as an analyst he worked in the Bureau of Budget, and also he was invited to Italy to study the Italian administration and suggest improvements, suggest reforms. So here he came to know that the limitation of the principles of public administration, that is limitation of the classical theories, Italian administration. So we can see here he is an academic as well as the practitioner. So he overcome one of the flaws in public administration, that is there is separation of academics and practitioner. He was both an academic as well as the practitioner of public administration, but he himself considered him to be a failed bureaucrat but not a failed academician. And also the highest award given by ASPA gives award every year. Dwight Waldo award is the highest award in his honor. So you can see how Waldo is very important in the field of public administration, and naturally UPSC will ask questions. Okay, so this background of Waldo is clear. Hopefully, who was Waldo, what was all about, and why we are studying Dwight Waldo. Okay, don't worry, I will make you write. So yes, comes to his first contribution, where he talks about administration is ahistorical. Administration is not ahistorical. Administration is not ahistorical, that is administration is historical. Ahistorical and historical you can use as you want. If you want to negate this statement, remove not, administration is historical. But he is saying administration is not ahistorical. Now what is historical and ahistorical? Yes, that is what Waldo says, but when the evolution of public administration started, it started from 1887. So, how the public administration discipline came to be, they ignored everything what happened before. They ignored the history of public administration. They say when modernism came, that is Renaissance in the West came in the form of capitalism and Protestant ethic, which became the basis of formulation of Weberian bureaucracy. That is where from public administration comes. That is everything before that was irrelevant. That was based, life of the people was based on superstition, based on beliefs. There was no rationality. When rationality in the world came with capitalism, industrial revolution, and of course the Protestant ethic, which became the basis of rationality in the world. Renaissance, you must have studied in history. So there Renaissance came, and from there they are saying public administration starts. Before this there is no public administration. This is a historical approach, which the classical theories, scientific management and everything was based on this approach. This forms the beginning of public administration. But didn't society exist before that? Wasn't there Kotali administration? Wasn't there Mughal administration? Wasn't there tribal administration? People existed. They had something to govern themselves. So can we ignore all this? That's why Waldo is saying you cannot have an public administration which ignores the history. You should consider ahistorical aspects as well in public administration. Because what he says, Waldo says there is a positive relation between human civilization and administration. Civilization has been existent since long time. Did civilization came into being only in 1887 at Waldo, when Wilson wrote the essay? Was there no civilization before that? If there was civilization, then there must be administration. Without administration, is there any civilization possible? So if administration grows, civilization will also grow. If civilization fails, it will be because of the failure of administration. Administration failed, so did civilization failed. So there is a positive relationship, or one can say a direct relationship between administration and civilization. But what the thinkers were saying when public administration, they consider only modernity. What about the things or society which was there before this? That's why they adopted a ahistorical approach, ignoring the total history. That's why Waldo is saying you cannot ignore all this. He says history is a prologue to public administration. So if this grows, this grows. If it will fail, civilization fails because of administration. Even tribal culture or tribal assemblies have some kind of administration, tax collection, etc. Something is there to govern. That is what? Administration. And administration grows, civilization grows, and this becomes the foundation for what? For government. Then this is a intimate relationship between administration, civilization and government. So you cannot ignore the history as the people who considered evolution of public administration from 1887. Nicholas Henry considers the evolution from 1900. So you cannot ignore all these aspects. This is what all aspects of administration and civilization he talks about. Now I guess it's better you write down, otherwise it will get lot of things to write. Then gradually we'll discuss. Should we switch on the AC or it's okay? It's okay? Okay, if you feel hot or humid, let me know. We'll switch it on. Switch on? Okay, we'll switch on for some time. So write down Dwight Waldo. Dwight Waldo had a significant influence on the teaching and the theory of public administration. Dwight Waldo had a significant influence on the teaching and the theory of public administration in the second half of the 20th century. Had a significant influence in the second half of the 20th century. His important publications include Administrative State. Write in the list format, it will be easy to remember this way. Administrative State, Democracy, Bureaucracy and Hypocrisy. The study of public administration. Then bureaucracy and democracy, a strained relationship. Strained relationship. There is no harmony between bureaucracy and democracy. They are always fighting. He was also, right in the next line, he was also an academician and a practitioner as well. He was also an academic and a practitioner as well.
What do you mean by practitioner?
That is, he practiced public administration. He was he also was also an administrator, but he failed. He considered himself as a failed administrator. Okay, so as an academician, you write what all he works as an academician, as an academic. He did his PhD in political science. Did his PhD in political science, worked as an assistant professor in University of California.
Berkeley.
Worked as an
Berkeley.
No, University of California, it's written.
It's in Berkeley.
It's in Berkeley. I need to check whether it's in Berkeley. Worked as a professor in the Syracuse University. He was also associated with ASPA, that is American Society of Public Administration. NASPA. Even comparative administrative group he was associated with. Hope you know what is comparative administrative group. Comparative public administration is one of the topics of your syllabus, and comparative public administration was one of the pushers for comparative studies across the globe. It funded them. It was funded by Ford Foundation. Okay. So this is his as an academic he worked, and yes, as a practitioner. Give next heading, as a practitioner. He worked as an analyst with the Bureau of Budget in Washington. Work as an analyst with the Bureau of Budget. We have Ministry of Finance, they have Bureau of Budget. Bureau of Budget in Washington. He was invited to study the Italian administration. To suggest improvements. Where he realized the limitations of the principles of public administration. He was invited to study the Italian administration to suggest improvements where he realized the limitations of the principles of public administration. Hope you know what are the principles of public administration. 14 principles given by Fayol, some principle by Gulick and Urwick. Division of work, authority responsibility, centralization, unity of command, unity of direction, stability of tenure. Okay, make some short forms to remember. So, POCC, PostCorp. So, give next heading. His contributions. Now write his contributions. His contribution A at public administration is not ahistorical. Not ahistorical, or in the bracket you can write public administration is historical. So if UPSC asks the other way, you should be ready also. Examine public administration is historical. Public or other question, examine public administration is not ahistorical. Okay, interpretation matters. Do you want to write the background also, that how public administration
Historical.
huh?
Public administration historical.
Is historical?
Said by
And yes, and other way to say this is public administration not ahistorical. So do you want to write the background also, or should we background? Okay, right. Public administration traditionally adopted an ahistorical approach. Public administration adopted an ahistorical approach, that is traditional public administration, considered the beginning of public administration from the publication of Wilson's essay in 1887. That is, they consider the beginning of public administration from the publication of Wilson's essay the study of administration in 1887. It rejected all the past practices. It rejected all the past practices as irrational, superstitious. It rejected all the past practices as irrational, superstitious. And modernism marked as a beginning of public administration. And modernism marked as the beginning of public administration. Right, next point, Waldo rejected this ahistorical approach. As administration and civilization have coexisted and nourished each other. As administration and civilization have coexisted and nourished each other. He considered history as a prologue of public administration. Hope you know what is a prologue. Prologue, P-R-O-L-O-G-U-E, prologue, some kind of introduction. Preamble is a prologue to the constitution. That way, it's a prologue to public administration. So draw this: administration, civilization. Administration influences civilization, civilization influences administration. Administration influences civilization, civilization influences administration. Okay. Both contribute to each other's development. See, if all if all these aspects were not there in the society, do you think Wilson would have written this essay, or Max Weber would have formulated this bureaucracy? Why Max Weber formulated rational bureaucracy? Because of irrationality that existed in the society. So that was something, a push to formulate bureaucratic model, scientific management of Taylor. So how can you ignore all these aspects? So that is what he talks about, how it acts as a prologue to public administration. Okay. So write next point: administration gives framework. Administration gives a framework to civilization. By creating a foundation and government, administration and civilization are interlinked. Hope things are clear till now. If any questions and doubts, feel free to ask. Even the slightest of doubt you have, you ask. No one will judge you. Every aspirant has a different learning phase, different way to understand things. Okay. Should we move further? So next is B, critique to classical theories. What are classical theories? First, that you should know to understand this. What are classical theories? If anyone knows, feel free to answer. If not, I will explain.
Scientific management.
Yes, scientific management, only scientific management.
theories given by Taylor.
Yes, Taylor, Fayol, Gulli Kurvik, and also we can consider Max Weber, scientific management theory. Abraham Maslow is not classical theorist. Weber, bureaucracy, Fayol, Gulli Kurvik, and one can say Mooney and Relay, but UPSC has a long time. Mooney and Relay they have not asked, but we cannot say with certainty they won't ask. Anything is possible. So he talks about the critique of this classical theories. Classical theories are those theories that were formulated when public administration as a discipline came to being. We can say Taylor's scientific management, he sought to develop scientific management by giving those principles, division of work, then scientific selection of workmen, training them, mental revolution, that is all scienticism he talks about. Then classical approach, Fayol, Gulli, Kurvik, he gave the principles of public administration. Principles are universal, they are applicable in every world, every organization, and similarly the principles were given by Gullik and Urvik, and the most famous principle of Gullik and Urvik are POSCORB, every planning, organization, reporting, coordination and budgeting, every organization does this, government, private, everything. And bureaucracy, Weber, rational bureaucracy, centralization, merit based, career based, neutral bureaucracy, that is Weberian bureaucracy. This is all classical theories. So basically classical theories are broadly based on, they talked about of course most importantly they talked about politics, dichotomy, then they talk about science, yes, then they talk about principles, and of course principles are universal, so it talks about generic management. This is what classical theories, if you jot down in 4 points, this is all the crux of the classical theories. That is, they talk about public administration dichotomy. I'll explain in brief, it's not possible to explain in detail. Science, public administration is a science that they talk about. Then they talk about principles, POCC, POSCORB, 14 principles of Fayol, and which are the principles which are universal, you apply to every organization in this world. They say these are principles. And they talk about generic management. What is generic management? Generic, you know, management is generic, that is applicable. Yes, public and private administration are the same, that is what they talk about. And Waldo will destroy all this and totally reject the classical theories. So one by one we will also destroy them. So first destroy them according to Waldo, not by us, we are not scholars. Politics, now to understand his views on politics administration dichotomy, first you should know what is politics and administration dichotomy. See, the classical thinkers base their work on politics administration dichotomy. Even Woodrow Wilson talks about the separation of politics and administration. Dichotomy means separation of politics and administration. What these thinkers talked about that politics and administration are totally separate. They do not work together with each other. Politics has to do with policy formulation and administration about execution. What district collector does? Execute policies, and policies are formulated at central government or state government, they implement. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan formulated by, one can say, PMO. Yes, ministries are there and they are implemented by the district collector. So there is separation of policy formulation and policy execution. So there is separation. Why they separated this, the classical thinkers? Because Dr. Wilson said that this leads to corruption. So there should be distinct. It will bring efficiency in administration. And also he uses a very technical term, Dwight Waldo. Democracy was going centrifugal, and politics administration seeks to make democracy centripetal. Understand centrifugal forces centripetal? See, this is, suppose democracy. This, if they are not separated, democracy will start moving. This way it will move. It will move towards them and destroy this. That is centrifugal forces. Tides work in a centrifugal force manner. So if they are not separated, administration will move further from politics, and they will destroy the entire. If they are not separated, if they are fused, then there will be corruption, etc. Democracy will start to get destroyed as this relation becomes centrifugal. They will start moving away from the core of democracy. Core of democracy is what? People, but they will start working for themselves. So destroy democracy. So he says they wanted to make it centripetal. Talks about centralization. Centripetal means they will remain in this. This is centripetal force. And if you don't understand, no worries, not much required. But this is how Waldo tries to explain the motivation behind politics administration dichotomy. So this separation, he says, exists. And also if we look, so this deals with values, if you remember Herbert Simon, and this deals with facts. Values will go into policy formulation. Values, we can say, ideology of the government, that also will go in formulation of policy. What a particular constituency want, or if a particular if the budget formulation, the coalition partners are strong, majority of the budget went to Andhra Pradesh and Bihar. So that was value based judgments. And but now budget is gone. What is the work of the administrator? To execute whatever is there. So it is facts. So that why he says there should be separation of values and facts. And this also was the basis of the Weberian bureaucracy. Rational bureaucracy should be fact based. So that's why they rejected value. But that's where Waldo comes in. Do you think, is it possible to separate values and facts? Is it possible to separate policy formulation and policy execution? Can they be totally separated? We all know Niti Aayog is manned by bureaucrats and it plays a role in policy formulation. So does GST Council, manned by politicians. Formulation, but also implementation also, the bureaucrats come into play in the GST. GST is implemented by bureaucrats. So those inputs are also taken. And also, if you know, there is MP lad scheme. MP lad scheme is implemented by elected representative. So politician also takes a role in policy execution. And is policy possible with ignoring the values? Superstition, beliefs, can you ignore? Can you give me one example when policy failed, when they ignored all these values? Any policy have failed in India? Yes, community, yes, it's 1951, classic example, but recent also. Have you heard about the sovereign gold bond scheme or gold monetization scheme? It's a total failure. What was that scheme all about? Instead, government of India had a rational choice, made a rational choice. India imports lot of gold, forex goes, demand is very huge, marriage, everything, we need gold. He said, okay, rather than gold, you take a bond, that is one paper will give, you have 1 kg of gold, suppose hypothetically, this is the rate, and as it appreciate, you can give that bond and take the higher value. But people had a liking for physical gold. People wanted gold in physical format, and unfortunately in our culture, marriage means gold. So will you give paper? That scheme totally failed because it ignored the value aspects. So values also play a very important role in policy making. So is it politics administration dichotomy possible? Is the separation possible? That's why Waldo says it's not possible. There should be politics administration fusion between them, because both influence each other in a positive way as well. That's why he roots public administration in political theory. That is, politics plays a role in public administration as well. This is how he rejects politics administration dichotomy. Hope things are clear now. His views on one aspect of classical thinkers, that is how he rejects politics administration dichotomy. Next he comes to,
So this centrifugal and centripetal is actually telling about the balance.
yeah, he is saying why these people, he says this centripetal leads to centralization, and centralization was one of the principles of Fayol. Centralization, if you read the 14 principles, one of the principles is centralization. Because of this centripetal force, they brought in politics administration dichotomy. Okay, things are clear here. Why he rejects politics administration dichotomy. So next, let's come to the science. How he rejects the scientific nature of public administration. Is public administration a science and art? According to classical thinkers, what is it? Science. Taylor, scientific management. Papers of Science of Administration by Gullik and Urwik. They consider public administration as science. And of course, Weber talks about rationality, means rational bureaucracy. Rationality is what? Science, yes. Physics, chemistry, biology, all rational aspect, clear cause and effect relationship. He says, Waldo says, public administration can never be a true science. It can never be a science. Can never be a true science. Why? There must be some reason why it can be a true science. Yes, people are involved. Humans are the most subjective beings on this earth, because humans have emotions, and you cannot ignore emotions. Emotions were ignored in gold monetization scheme, total disaster. If you consider demonetization also, think about it, how people found a way around the laws, rational policy, but people are highly intelligent because they are emotional as well. What were the objectives of demonetization? To end terrorism, end black money, end fake currency. So unfortunately, yesterday only incident happened. So demonetization, acts were to end all this, but values were ignored. Saying people found way around the law. So that's why he rejects the true science nature of public administration. Public administration can never be a science, because it consists of humans. Humans have values, beliefs, superstitions that cannot be ignored by public administration. Policy failure results because of this. People ignore the feelings, beliefs, superstitions of people. So that's why it cannot be a science. He says at most it can be an what? Applied science. It can most be an applied science, that is a mix of art and science with more of an art rather than a science. That is, he rejects the true science nature of public administration. It can at most be an applied science and a mix of art and science with heavily bent towards arts because of the human aspects in public administration. Public administration is administrating people. People are highly emotional. They have beliefs, they have superstitions, they have feelings. You cannot ignore this, all this in public administration. If you ignore, policies etc. is bound to fail. That is, public administration is not a true science. At most, it is an applied science. That's why how he this rejects the science nature of public administration as well. So hopefully this is clear why he rejects and what was the scientific nature of public administration. Okay, any doubts? Then he attacks the principles. Principles were considered as a cosmic constitutional. What is cosmos? Cosmos. Anywhere you go build an organization in the cosmos, principles will act as a constitution to those organization. Planning, organizing, staffing, directing, rapid reporting, budgeting, the 14 principles, so many principles are there. So if it was so easy, you build an organization, have these principles, automatically it should result in efficiency. But is it so? Is the government of India efficient? Is government of America is efficient? So why so much reforms? Why they need Dodge? Why they need big beautiful bill? Dodge, Department of Government Efficiency. We have here what we have: minimum government, maximum governance. So why the principles are enough? Then why we need all this? That's why Waldo says principles is not a cosmic constitution, because it does not specifically tells us which principle will be effective in which type of organization. Is centralization effective in all types of organization? Argyris talks about metric organization, that is everyone having equal power and authority, democratic decentralization. So this principle does not talk about specificity. Some principles may be useful in some contexts, but not in every context. Does this principle talk about any specificity? So that's why he rejects. How can this be a science and be a bread and butter of public administration? So yes, totally rejected. Also regarding the science nature, we can see politics and administration cannot be separated. So values will be there. So political administration fusion is there. So science cannot be there. That also one aspect is there. And these principles became the basis of science. The principles too get rejected. Obviously science is rejected, principles will be rejected. This is not universal, this is not a cosmic constitutional, because it does not say about a specific instances where these principles will be applicable. If there is a chaos, there will be centralization will be effective. But if you want to promote innovation, then there should be decentralization, free movement of the people. All people should be able to talk. That's why in many big private organization there is matrix organization. Nike, Adidas, Amazon, they works on matrix organization. You can directly meet with the chief executive. Even Elon Musk promotes matrix organization to bring innovation. But when there is a terror attack, can there be a matrix organization? It will result in chaos. You win leadership will tell do this things. Then there will be chaos, will be stabilized. So that specificity of the classical thinkers were missing, and on basis of that they wanted to create science. Science is rejected. This is also rejected. Then the next rejection was of generic management. They rejected generic management. Now what is generic management?
Common to private and public.
Yes, they said yes, general is everywhere. Generic management, that is you have principles which are universal, so any organization you apply, so that is there is no separation between public and private organization. That is generic management. Yeah, sure. So there is no separation between public and private administration. They are generic. And further we will study Peter Drucker. He says the people who talk about public organization and private organization are separate. They are uttering total nonsense. This is what Peter Drucker talks about. So anyways, let's come to Waldo. So it is talks about generic management. So this is a classical thinker says it's generic management. There is no separation of public and private enterprises. Both are the same. But is it so? Are public and private organizations the same? Why? There should be some basis.
Public works for welfare, private works for profit.
There are differences based on efficiency.
Well, public works on welfare, and so private doesn't work for welfare.
Profit.
CSR? CSR is there. So now government main motive is not profit. What PM Modi talks about? Entrepreneurial government will create entrepreneurs. Red tape to red carpet. This is the statement of efficiency. Yes, public sectors were loss making, so we privatized that because they were doing welfare and leading to losses to the government exchequer. So what is the main difference between public and private organization?
So governing body is different in both sectors. Means in public sector governed by government.
Yes, democracy, good.
Private is different.
People are elected here, democracy. This is a private entity. That is the difference. And what are the but have you heard about trusteeship model? Company belongs to no one, it belongs to the people.
So that works for public and this works for profit of an individual or
But
organization.
company belongs to no one, right? It belongs to the people. Yes, group of people. They can be removed. Board of directors can be removed.
Only motive is
Tatas.
for making profit.
Government also now want to become efficient. That's why in US there is DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. The big shutdown in US is going, firing employees because government become bloated, fat. The main difference is public organization have to work in the guise of the constitution. Here, yes, broader way we can see some rules must be there, and also other differences. They have a regular interaction with politics, administration. Here, yes, nowadays in India you can say all kind of things are going on, but there is no interaction with politics on regular basis. That is the main difference. So if they are different, how they can be same? So they are not same. So there can't be generic management. This way he rejects generic management nature of public administration. Because of this constitution and this public sector undertakings in India have to be efficient but also ensure welfare. Here only efficient. So how they can compete with each other? You say that public sector enterprises are becoming inefficient in India, but see with whom they are competing. Here you have to do welfare plus efficiency. Here only efficiency. We had discussed while discussing paper 2, BSNL got 5G license recently. And when did Jio got? When did Airtel get 5G? So how they can compete? And we say BSNL is not working properly. So how they will compete? Welfare. And why they got? Because in 2020 or the India-China tensions were going on, and all the equipments were of Chinese, though towers, etc., Huawei, Xiaomi towers, all those equipments you need to transmit signals. Here private sector can use them, but public sector cannot use those equipments because there was an allegation that they are sending data to China and mining our data. So they have to develop those 5G infrastructure first, that is those towers, etc., from indigenous components, and then they will get license. So is it fair comparison? That's why both are different. Both are not same. Public and private are different. So on this basis he rejects the generic management of classical thinkers, and thereby totally rejecting the classical theories. What acted as a foundation and as a main development in the birth of public administration, that was totally rejected by Waldo, totally destroyed. So this is what his views are on classical thinkers. Hope everything is clear. Any doubts, etc.? Okay, then write down now. So B, critique of classical thinkers. So right, classical thinkers, classical theories or classical thinkers based their foundation on 4 aspects. First is public administration dichotomy. Second, public administration as a science. Third, principles of public administration. First is what you know, public administration dichotomy. Second is science. Third is principles, and fourth is generic management. Waldo rejects all these 4 aspects of classical theories. Now write 1, public administration dichotomy. So I guess should we write background, otherwise it will become too long. Politics, okay, right, okay. So Waldo rejects public administration dichotomy both on normative and realistic basis. Waldo rejects public administration dichotomy both on normative and realistic basics. As they operate interdependently with each other. As they operate interdependently of each other, that is, there is interdependence between them, that is, both influence each other. They operate interdependently with each other, that is, both influence each other. Do you want to write that centripetal and centrifugal as well? It's a bit technical. Okay, Waldo outlines that the PAD was formed, was advocated, that is, public administration dichotomy was advocated. Waldo outlines PAD was advocated by the classical theorist because without separation democracy will become centrifugal. Democracy will become centrifugal, in bracket right, both will destroy democracy. and separation ensures democracy remains centripetal. As they advocated the principle of centralization. Right, this way: politics, policy formulation, administration, policy implementation, politics, policy formulation, administration, policy implementation. Here, right, both influence each other. So there should be political administration fusion. Politics, policy formulation, administration, policy implementation, both influence each other. That is, there should be politics administration fusion. He also says that if they are separated, administration will be relegated to counting the number of sewer holes in the world. That is his words. If they are separated, administration will be doing what? Only counting sewer holes in the world. That is doing housekeeping activities, not anything intellectual. And they expect administration to be rational, and rational bureaucracy doing counting of sewer holes. That is what he talks about. So, right, it's his statement. If they are separated, public administration will be relegated to a lower field. That is counting number of sewer holes in the country. When you are writing, articulate as well. Try to articulate, so that it will remain in your brain. Okay, don't write mechanically. Think also while writing. So that way you can better understand and able to better recall in the examination. Okay, don't be mechanical. It's not recommended. Exam demands critical thinking. Next you write scienticism. That is the B part, scientific nature of public administration. The scientific nature of public administration was based on the rejection of the rule of thumb. Yes, Taylor rejected rule of thumb. There should not be rule of thumb. There should be science. Scientific nature of public administration is based on the rejection of rule of thumb. They rejected rule of thumb. But Waldo says this is nothing but application of common sense. Right? This is nothing, but Waldo says this is nothing but application of common sense. And
What is this rule of thumb?
Taylor, F.W. Taylor. Why?
Following the tradition.
Yes, you should follow. When F.W. Taylor gave his scientific management principles, he found that he studied some organizations there, some 100 organization he studied, and he found that workers are not doing work in a systematic manner. They are doing very arbitrarily. Whatever they are doing, they are taking more number of steps, so more number of motions. Motions, you understand motion, time motion study. That suppose if to construct a phone, you need certain steps. Assemble the motherboard, assemble the RAM, assemble the SIM card slot, assemble the antenna. That has some steps involved. So if you want efficiency, you keep all your assembly line here and you assemble. But some people use motion, they'll keep antenna here, they'll keep motherboard there, so the number of steps increases. So he rejected this rule of thumb, and there should be science of execution the task. There he studied time and motion study, and basis of that he gave those scientific management principles. So that's why they reject the rule of thumb. Okay. So where were we?
This is nothing but application of common sense.
Common sense. And the claim of administration as a science is not authentic. The claim that public administration is a science is not authentic. As public administration cannot ignore irrational and emotional aspects. Irrational and emotional aspects, that is value aspects. As public administration means administering the people, as public administration means administering the people, and humans are emotional beings. Now write next point. Further he says public administration can at most be an applied science. A mix of arts and science. A mix of arts and science, and more of an art than a science. Then write next principles, next heading principles. There he rejects the principles. The classical thinkers talks about universal principles. And Waldo rejects the cosmic constitutional nature of principles. As principles ignore the specificity in administration. As they do not tell us in which situation which principles will be effective. As they do not tell us in which situation which principles will be effective. Next you write generic management, give the heading generic management. In the bracket you write, if you want, that is management is universal both for public and private. If you don't understand generic management, management is universal both for public and private organizations. Waldo rejects the generic management in public administration. Generic management claim, Waldo rejects the claim of generic management. As public organization and private organization are totally different. Public organization, as public organization operates with the interplay of politics and administration. Public organization operates in the interplay of politics and administration, that politics and administration both influence each other. And public administration has to operate within the environment of the constitution, and public administration, that is public organization, have to operate within the environment of the constitution. Hope the critique of classical theories is clear. Now we'll talk about his views on the behavioral theories. There too he keeps on rejecting the behavioral theories. Critique of behavioral theories. All the developments happen in public administration and he keeps on rejecting everything. Now before we start, what are behavioral theories? What are behavioral theories in public administration?
Human relation.
Huh? And human relation is neoclassical theory. Questions have also come. Yes, no, that is participative theories. Question, you should know which all are theories. Questions have come. Classical theories, behavioral theories, modern organization theories. Yes, Simon Barnard or behavioral thinkers, they are. See, first is classical theory, neoclassical theory. Then comes behavioral theories. Then comes participative theories. Then comes modern organization theory. Classical theory is Fayol, Taylor, Gully, Kurvik. Neoclassical is human relation. Elton Mayo. Behavioral theory, Simon Barnard. Participative is those three people, McGregor, Argyris, Likert. Modern organization theory, systems theory, contingency theory, and also strategic contingency theory. Waldo considers this one classification, this other classification, and this as third classification. And in the near future, there will be a fourth classification of future theories. Yes, but what will be named? Postmodern theories, which UPSC keeps on asking. That is critical theory, deconstruction theory, post-positivism, etc. If we draw an umbrella, all these aspects will come in the fourth postmodern theories of public administration. And that's why UPSC keeps on asking, because in your syllabus there is also, if you read it properly, the first chapter it talks about evolution of public administration and the current status. So current status is this modern organization theories. So all these aspects are there in your syllabus. It's not that they are not. Okay. So let's talk about the critique.
May I ask one question?
Yes.
So, public administration in India is commonly carried out by civil
Yes.
service. Public administration is carried out by civil service officials, right?
Oh.
Primarily. Now we hear in the newspaper and other reports of them amassing assets disproportionate to their wealth over the years. My question simply put is, where is the income tax department when they file their IT returns every year? And why do we not have greater vigilance over those who are responsible for public administration policy creation and implementation? I'm so sorry to...
Yeah, so no worries. Practical aspects. Not just administrators but politicians also have disproportionate asset. There was a first question in the GS2 paper, corrupt practices, undue influence, representation of People's Act. Now it will take a lot of time to explain all this, but briefly I will tell why the issue exists. Administration has a discretion also. A lot of discretionary powers are there because it's not possible to define every power of the administration to be exercised. Sometimes situations are as such, administrators have to take decisions based on their discretion, and sometimes it leads to innovation also. We call it out of the box thinking, thinking outside the rules, and also discretion powers can be misused as well. Misuse means corruption, and corruption happens, misuse of discretionary powers. Funds are given to spend on Swachh Bharat say, but can you monitor every fund? Quarterly assess. Civil servant is like a fish swimming in the ocean, and that fish you cannot decipher whether it is drinking water or swimming. So that's similarly administrator is swimming in the ocean of money. So whether it's eating that money or just swimming or using that money to welfare because of discretionary powers. That's why there should be ethics in public administration. Powers cannot be defined in totality. So if you have strong moral, strong integrity, that will act as a moral compass against corruption.
We have something called the IAS Association, right? Which publishes commonly on their website about changes in the postings, etc. Is that right? So is there any place for collusion among officers who are responsible for handling the affairs of the country? Should there be such an association in the first place which allows them to collude with each other and use discretionary powers to their advantage and rather to the disadvantage of the people at large?
Association is a form of, one can say it also acts as a ventilation therapy. Association is also a right, constitutional right. So it's not that how the association is being used. It's not collusion doesn't happen only among officers. Collusion also happens between politicians and administrators. Also people as well. Kaushik Basu says there is Sanskritization of corruption in India. People in our society respect those people who are corrupt and have more wealth, and do not respect people who do not have more wealth. If there is a honest officer, he will say he will get number of transfers. If there is dishonest, he will get plum posting as observed by the ARC second. Now why people indulge in corruption in politics? That is while voting. Why they accept money? Why they accept biryani? Why they accept alcohol on the voting eve? We get this society we deserve. So to changes should be come not only from reforms in administration but politics as well, and of course the people. Lokpal is there. What is Lokpal doing? BMW, 6 BMWs they want. Diversity of that India against corruption movement. Also importantly, if there is grievance for Lokpal, what about the district level? Where you will register grievance? There should be a local ombudsman at district level as recommended by ARC2.
So today I have another class.
Yeah, sure. So let's talk about the critique of the behavioral thinkers. So to understand this critique of behavioral thinkers, you should know what the behavioral thinkers talked about. And behavioral thinkers are Simon and Bernard. So basically we will talk in brief. They talked about the human behavior in the administration. They talk about how Bernard talks about acceptance of authority, etc. And Simon talks about there is a limitation to knowledge because there are cognitive and psychological limitations. Okay. So because of that, there cannot be rational decisions. So there will be satisficing decisions and bounded rationality. And also Bernard talks about the zone of indifference. That is behavioral aspect, where he also talks about the informal organization. So in a brief, they talk about behavioral aspects. And most importantly, their emphasis was on what? Making public administration science. That was their main emphasis. They also carried forward, they rejected the classical theorists. On one hand, Simon called the classical principles as proverbs in administration, and administration cannot be science based on prescriptive. He wanted to make descriptive. What administrative science was based on what it is. If principles are there, what ought to be. Principles are there, then that will be science. But he wanted a descriptive, that is what it is. So you analyze human behavior, rationality, the following descriptive approach to science. So they talk about science, this should be science. And Simon was also criticized as he wanted to make a physics out of public administration. Logical positivism approach he adopted, positivistic approach, that is accepting a descriptive approach to make science in public administration. So these were all their contributions, and of course Waldo will reject him. Waldo called Simon as radical conservativist. Radical conservative, he calls Simon as a radical conservative person. Radical, why? Radically he rejected classical theories. And conservative, why? Because he talks about the same thing. Science, what he talks, managerialism, efficiency and science, this is all they talk about. Ignoring again the emotions of the people, the non-rational and extra-rational features. So that's why he rejected them. And again he says that this cannot be, never be a science. At most it can be an applied science. And he based all his work on separation of facts and values. For rational decision making, there should be more of facts. Values cannot be, values should be ignored, Simon says. But can you ignore values, beliefs, rational, extra-rational, irrational factors, superstitions? Then results in policy failure. He talks about separation. Simon also criticizes politics administration dichotomy, but from the back door he introduces politics administration dichotomy again in the form of facts value dichotomy. This is what? Politics administration. Yes, classical thinkers, we all broke our hand behind politics administration dichotomy, facts values. So Simon introduces this from the back door. That's why he rejects them completely. Call him a radical conservatism. They criticize classical theories, behavioral theories. Behavioral thinkers criticize the classical theories on one hand, and then they talk about the same thing, science, managerialism and efficiency, which public administration cannot be a science. This way he rejects them. Hope things are clear. Behavioral thinkers. Any issue here? Then he also rejects then he criticizes the modern organization theory. Now what are modern organization theories in public administration? It's mentioned in your syllabus, modern organization theory in the organization chapter. and you blame public administration is not a scoring option. Basics you don't know, no worries. If you don't know now, you should know. The learning is continuous process, it never stops. So modern organization theory are systems theory. This is also called as a modern theory and contingency theory. And also there is strategic contingency theory, resource dependency theory, social capital theory. This UPSC has asked till here. This are yet to ask, not mentioned in your syllabus, but today or tomorrow they'll ask resource dependency theory or strategic social capital theory of Robert Putnam. Anyways, social capital UPSC has asked in GS this year, GS2 I guess, and GS4 last year. So just a matter of time, social capital theory will again be asked. Anyways, we'll discuss this if time permits in the coming days. So this is modern organization theory is all about. See, the difference between the behavioral theories and the modern organization theories. Behavioral theories talks about the internal environment, how behavior influences the organization. This is organization. Organization is made of men, material and machines. So how there is influence of that on the organization. This is behavioral theory. But what about the environment? External environment also influences the organization. Government policies, technology influence the organization. Layoffs are happening now because of why? Technology revolution, AI. External environment influence the organization. So this is what the systems theory and contingency theory talks about. This is what is modern organization theory. Now he again will reject them. Now modern organization theory basically talks about when environment change, the structure of the organization will change. If environment is very uncertain, we need innovation, then we need democratized, decentralized model, that is not centralization. On the other hand, in some aspects, if environment is very uncertain also, that is totally chaotic in the disaster type environment outside, so we need a centralized organization inside. This is what the influence of environment is. But they talk about more specifically of structures. Structure centralization is one structure, decentralization is one structure, but do they talk about the humans inside? So he rejects them because they ignore again here the human aspects of the organization. Environment changes, effect will be also on humans. They don't talk about this. So he rejects them also for ignoring the humans in the organization. Now you can also relate. There is gig economy. Gig economy is there. You order on phone, instant delivery. Will it survive for long? Because humans are converted into machines. You order comes. Do you interact with that person? That person becomes a total mechanical. Karl Marx will say he is converted into near animal. Animal do not have emotions. He is becoming emotionless, he or she. Don't interact. Machine, buzzer runs. He picks up the order, he, she, and they delivers to you. You open the door, shut the door. Do you ask water? You asked every time his well-being. He's a human. He's your fellow human being. You are also human. So what about those emotional aspects? So this will not survive for long. Before there were moms and pop store. It was more of a community feeling. You know that, yup, that store person by name in your hometown, you must be knowing, must have some interaction as well. He becomes a part of a larger family, a larger social capital, he, she. But now, are the emotions considered of that person? Total mechanical. One day one person is coming, after 5 minutes some other person. What about the social relations which separate us from the animals? This won't survive. This will become chaotic in the near future. Also, there are now drone deliveries. Drone will be gradually replacing. This is not sustainable at all, because external environment is this. You are ignoring the human aspect. It will totally become, what do we say, entropy will happen. It will become self-destructive, because same did what was done by modern organization theory. They did not consider the humans, so Waldo rejects them as well. Okay, hope this is clear now. Why he rejects. That's why you give illustrations also this way. This way, if you give illustration, you can score good. And if your modern organization critique comes, you can write about the gig economy, how the human aspect is ignored. So now write down Waldo critique of behavioralism. The behavioral theories, the behavioral thinkers radically rejected the classical thinkers. But continued with the same theme of the classical thinkers. Behavioral theories or thinkers rejected the classical thinkers, but continued with the same theme of the classical thinkers. That is focusing on managerialism, efficiency, and scientific nature of public administration. Based on logical positivism, you can write in bracket a fact value dichotomy, a value free science. Waldo says fact value dichotomy emphasized by Simon, fact value dichotomy emphasized by Simon is impractical and impossible to eliminate values, and impossible to eliminate values. As in administration, values are inevitable and also desirable. Waldo considers Simon as a radical conservative person. Waldo considers Simon as a radical conservative person as on one hand he rejected the classical theories, on one hand he rejected the classical theories but emphasized on all the aspects of the classical theories. So you can write, if you want, managerial efficiency, managerial efficiency and scientific nature. Okay. And introduce public administration dichotomy. Introduce public administration dichotomy from the back door in the form of fact value dichotomy. Now next, right, critique of modern organization theory. So in bracket, right, or systems theory, contingency theory, strategic contingency theory, that are modern organization. This is a resource dependency theory, and social capital theory. Time permits, we may take this. Critique of modern organization theory. See, hope you will manage the background of modern organization theory. So write in few lines that he rejected the modern organization theory, MOTs. He rejected the modern organization theory. As modern organization theory dehumanize the organization. As modern organization theory dehumanize the administration, the organization, as it did not consider the human aspects. Okay, this much is enough. Rest you manage yourself on modern organization theory. Okay. Now let's take. Let's see, 2 more aspects are there. Half an hour. Okay, if you want to go, live. Next is. Next, we talk about the Waldo's view on administration. Now, if you know, he published a book. There is a strained relationship between bureaucracy and democracy. So he rejected there cannot be a hierarchical administration. That is, he rejected the Weberian administration. Okay. So this is what his views are. Basically he rejects the Weberian administration because on one hand there is democracy and one hand there is administration. So he says there is a constant tension between bureaucracy and democracy. So now, is there a tension between bureaucracy and democracy? Why?
Fundamental rights and all these things in democracy, but in bureaucracy we have to stick to the policy which we made for the people, and they also have to believe that these policies will work. But at the same time, let's take an example of the dogs which are in ORN, and the Supreme Court order that you should take them, but some people who are dog lovers or something like that, they will come to street and they will strike for them.
Both are exercising their fundamental right, no?
Yeah.
Dogs, free people. It's also we can say dogs can become aggressive, so it hampers right to life. But protesting is also under Article 19.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And also we have fundamental duty of compassion towards all living creatures. So there is a tension in bureaucracy and democracy because it is based on equality and this is based on exclusivity. Everyone is equal, but it's a very exclusive club. You need to clear this examination to go to that club. Otherwise, you are कल आओ, परसों आओ, appointment लेके आओ. Police brutality is also there. So yes, based on equality, based on exclusivity, it is based on access. Everyone has equal rights. Access free. Here it is based on hierarchy. It is open to all. This is career based, not open to all. Democracy promotes diversity. Administration is uniform. Same Weber administration throughout the world. Democracy may be different. There is some presidential democracy, parliamentary democracy, but Weber is all over the world. There may be some regional politics in certain states. Some may not be having regional politics, but administration is administration. District collector is same throughout the world, doing same functions throughout the country. So this is uniformity. This promotes diversity, democracy. Because of this, there is always a tension between democracy and bureaucracy. So he says, because of this tension, the pyramidal organization or hierarchical organization is totally useless. It cannot work. So he talks about administration should be based on democratic decentralization, participation, and should be less hierarchic, based on the philosophy of politics, administration, fusion, based on applied science. This is how he views administration as. And why he views? Because there is a constant tension between bureaucracy and democracy, and thereby he rejects Max Weber too, Weberian bureaucracy. Hope things are clear here. This much he only talks about the administration. Then he talks about the future organization. What will be organization future? Access. Democracy is accessible. Here is hierarchic. It's not hierarchic. You cannot directly meet the chief secretary of your state or cabinet secretary of the country. You have to meet lower officers, section officer, etc. You cannot meet the DGP of the state directly. You have to meet the section of the sub inspector or the constable. You cannot access them. Hierarchy. But you can meet ministers. You can meet the member of parliaments. But nowadays you cannot meet the prime minister. Before prime minister was accessible. So that's why there is constant tension between bureaucracy and democracy. So now he talks about the future. He died in 2000 and still he predicted the future. He says that future organization yes, he talks about less hierarchic, etc. organization, and technology will develop in such a way that there will be faster information processing. Information processing will be faster. Information processing is now faster. ChatGPT, AI, see there he predicted and now it's coming to true. And yes, many aspirants are using ChatGPT. Please do not use ChatGPT, especially for optionals. It gives wrong responses. It may be helpful for GS 1, 2, 3 because there is a summation of availability of things on internet. News are available on internet. Is thinkers, etc. works available free? Is it a free resource? It will give wrong responses. Don't trust ChatGPT or AI for answers. Use books. Books will promote critical thinking. Even for ethics, I will not recommend at all using ChatGPT, etc. Many are using. It's better to be aware before rather than wasting your attempt. Okay. Yes, information processing will be faster. He also says future or the centers of power will be scientific and technocratic organizations will become the centers of power. Yes, it is becoming true. Elon Musk has become a center of power, technocrat. That also prediction came true. Many things came true what he predicted. And he further says future organization will be a more of a mix of public and private organization, but the transition will be a bit chaotic. In India also there is a mix of public and private organization. Lateral entry is what? Bringing private sector in public organization. It's a mix of public and private organization. This all he predicted, and it's yes kind of true. He died in 2000, maybe active till 90s, and today everything is coming true. That's why Carroll and Fredrickson says, if you want to study public administration today, it has to be Waldo. If you want to do research on public administration today, it has to be Waldo. If you want to practice public administration today, it has to be Waldo. That's why he's a very significant thinker of public administration. And of course, NPA is the most impactful work of his, which brought a new romanticism in public administration. How it brought a new romanticism in public administration? It rejected the traditional public administration, gave the 5 goals and 3 anti-goals. So in a way, it gave preference to feelings over reason, preference to senses over mind, preference to creativity over rules. When he talks about relevance, change, values, citizen centricity and equity. So preference of feelings over reason. That's why NPA brought a new romanticism in public administration. Of course, his critique is that he talks about that separation of private and public organization are distinct, but he doesn't say what are the features of private organization, what are the features of public organization. He also says there should be a marriage between bureaucracy and democracy, and this will be chaotic. But how to remove the chaos? He doesn't say anything about that. He just keeps on criticizing everything. But we all know Waldo is very significant. In the words of Carroll and Fredrickson, if you want to study, you want to do research, you want to practice public administration today, it has to be done by Waldo. And yes, if we consider postmodernism, modern, then there is postmodern. So is Waldo modern or postmodern? Waldo is a bridge between them, modernism and postmodernism, as Follett belonged to the classical era, but her thoughts were advanced at her time. Similarly, Waldo's thoughts were advanced of his time. He acted a bridge between modernism and postmodernism. His thoughts eventually led to the birth of postmodernism in public administration. This came in 70s and 80s. And Waldo was talking all this in 60s. That's why Waldo remains significant. So now I wrote down all these aspects. Waldo's view on administration. There is a constant tension between democracy and bureaucracy. Constant tension between bureaucracy and democracy. You have drawn this, right? This is the tension. Therefore, Waldo is dismissal of the rationality and pyramidal organization.
So dismissal
of rationality, bureaucratic rationality and pyramidal organization. bureaucracy will continue, but it's a terminal value. Will continue for some time, but it's a terminal value, that is, it will come to an end. And the substitute will be from the marriage of bureaucracy with democracy. So in bracket you write democratic decentralization, participative, less hierarchic, based on politics administration fusion, based on politics administration fusion, through the based on politics administration fusion through the idea of applied science. And NPA brought the new romanticism in public administration. Brought the new romanticism over public administration. By giving preference to feelings over reason, feelings over reason, human feelings, feelings over reason, senses over mind, senses over mind. Senses, you have 5 senses: hearing, listening, senses over mind. And if you develop the 6th sense, wisdom, according to Socrates, highest form of ethics.
What was that, sir? 6 senses?
Wisdom, enlightenment, preference of feelings over reason, senses over mind, creativity over rules. Creativity over rules. It was anti-hierarchical, anti-positivistic, anti-technical. So that you manage the 5 goals and anti-goals of new public administration. Now write organization of the future. New technology will be created to process information faster. Power centers will be those organizations which are scientific and technologically advanced. Power centers will be those organizations which will be scientific and technologically advanced. Future organization will be a mix of public and private organization. Which will be more multinational, etc. Multinational organizations will come, which we have multinational organization. You want to write critique or you will manage criticisms? Manage. So one question for you to practice. So, practice this question. Although Waldo considers public administration dichotomy and political theory at odds, although Waldo considers public administration dichotomy, politics administration dichotomy, considers politic administration dichotomy at odds with political theory, but he considers political theory as another aspect of public administration. But considers examine the above statement. Although Waldo considers politics administration dichotomy at odds with political theory, he considers political theory as another aspect of public administration. Examine this statement, 20 mark. Practice at your home. It's more of a reframing of the second question UPSC asked in CSE 2018. Okay then. Hope.
Just one question.
Yes.
So in India, we commonly observe that the people responsible for governance in the parliamentary level and legislature, they are often allowed to get away with criminal cases and immoral behavior. Often that is the norm, not the exception. On the other hand, those in administration and bureaucracy have very stringent criteria to get in. And in doing so, they end up becoming very submissive and docile. Should we not have the inverse, an extremely wise, docile government legislature as in MPs or MLAs or councillors who are highly educated, not dependent on the masses who vote for them to be in power, but rather on merit, and maybe more maverick administrators who are street smart and not just book smart. Are we doing an inverse administration? Is this, because it doesn't make sense that people dealing administrators are docile and don't know street smarts, while those in parliament formulating laws are street smart and get away with literal murder.
Many questions in that statement. Criminalization of politics and administrative reforms, and why we should not having politics which are criminalization of politics oriented. Yes, criminalization of politics is a sad reality. 43% of the legislatures in the Lok Sabha 18 are from criminal background, but there are already checks and balances. The B. Thomas case disqualifies a person from convicted person from contesting for 6 years minimum plus the conviction for that period. Then people get what the society deserves, but we cannot have cannot cut out the people's mandate. People, if you consider remove people voting for them, then there won't be democracy in this country. It will be dictatorship. So people need to be reformed. To have a reformed politics and administrative reforms is a continuous process. It keeps on happening.
And in doing so, should we not have a criteria of only passport holders voting, because they have been properly vetted voters? They are actual citizens of India. Indian passport holders are Indian citizens, right? Or can any random who has a voter card, which can be faked? Like, should we not implement this reform that only Indian passport holders be allowed to vote? I don't know. This is my
Indian to right to vote Representation of People Act says that you should be a citizen of this country.
So what is the citizenship document? Because Aadhaar cards are being faked, voter ID cards are being faked, PAN cards are being faked, but passport cannot, like, you need there's a proper criteria to get a passport, right? And it's only 10-year validity, not lifelong.
Oh, many questions within a question.
And the passport validity can be withdrawn by the court in case of a criminal antecedent. It can be
so
limited.
can be citizenship. So can be citizens who commit any crime can be jailed.
But then bail is the exception,
not a norm. Yes, Chief Justice has said.
Norm, not the exception.
See, that's why a lot of questions within a question, special intensive revision is being carried out. But Election Commission of India previously had a compassionate approach towards enlisting voters, and it should be having that. That's why we have a successful democracy. Before what, even if you want to get registered, yes, you come register. It had a compassionate approach. Anyone want to register as a voter, you register. If anyone takes an objection about your citizenship, then we'll conduct inquiry, which that happened also. This special intensive revision was carried out in Bihar, then all over India, on the saying that there are a lot of intruders, Bangladeshis, etc. How many Bangladeshis or foreigners were found? Around 9 or 10. Such a mass exercise, and 9 or 10 people were found to be not the citizen of India. So why to make trouble for us to find a needle in a hay? That's why it should be having a compassionate approach. People of the country, still 80 crore of the people of a country are dependent on food grains from the government.
If they're not spoiling them, preventing them from going hungry, that thus removing their intrinsic drive to work for their earning their keep. You're giving them free food and in lieu of that getting
India
more.
is a welfare country.
Isn't that socialism?
Preamble says India is a
1.5
welfare
billion
country.
people are being given free food and their
Yes,
highest merit ability is being
a basic needs approach is there, which is one of the approaches for development. Basic need approach has been followed, then leads to empowerment approach. Lot of orthodox premises, classical theories.
Only
Classical theory, but give reference to behavioral theories also. Attempt this, consider this as an assignment, it will help you. UPSC started those questions we have removed from the paper. Gradually discuss. Hope this session was helpful for you, and we will be continuing. Hopefully, please come if you have said yes. Our team had sent messages. Many people didn't show up. People are there in waiting list. They wanted to come. Unfortunately, they are not able to come. Then they also lose enthusiasm. If you're committing, do come. If you don't want to come, it's your wish, your life, your decisions. But do inform us. We are not coming. Okay. Gradually, I thought tomorrow will take 2 thinkers, but I think within 3 hours it's not possible. So maybe we'll take Karl Marx or Peter Drucker. If time permits, we'll take both. Both have been asked by UPSC. Okay then. Yeah, same time. Okay. Thank you for coming. Recording बंद कर दे. Recording बंद कर.